Hello and welcome. This is the newsroom for Wednesday, June 10, 2020. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarzi TV in Bartica. In the headlines, Irfaan Ali says a PPP government will not embark on a witch hunting campaign.
We are not in a witch hunting exercise. We are not in any witch hunting exercise. Let me make that very clear. We are going to act professionally. The commissioner has assured us that he and his team would continue to act professionally. They would act professionally.
The U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo calls for a quick and credible conclusion to the vote recount process. The newsroom locates 6 persons from Unity Mahaica who the APNU plus AFC said were out of the country on Elections Day.
I had to laugh because I never had a passport, so I left the country to go to other country with a bicycle.
A dispute over mining land forces a family into the jungle after their home was met with gunfire. And in sport, virtual replica of the South Dakota circuit being developed by local motor racing enthusiasts. With the news, I'm Neil Marks. We're glad you could join us. A PPP government will not embark on a witch hunting exercise, presidential candidate Irfaan Ali said on Wednesday in response to questions about whether the police commissioner Leslie James will be removed from his post. The top cop came in for heavy criticisms after he submitted a list of 172 persons to the Guyana Elections Commission, claiming that they were out of the country on March 2nd, Elections Day. It was in response to a letter written by the chair of GCOM following a claim made by APNU plus AFC on the grounds that these persons were ticked off as having voted on Elections Day. Even though many persons on the list came forward and proved that they were in fact in Guyana and voted at the polls, the police commissioner still stood by his list and maintained that it was credible. The top brass of the PPP, including General Secretary Barrett Jagdeo, met with the Commissioner of Police on Wednesday morning, but did not discuss the issues surrounding the flawed list. They spoke with the media after the meeting.
The commissioner submitted a list. First of all, you can't determine who voted. You can't determine who voted on the list. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the commissioner submitted a list, and that list was challenged by many Guyanese. So the list is flawed. The commissioner, I think, then went on to make a statement that he can't count for persons who may have moved legally or illegal. That's another issue. But the issue is the list was challenged, and so the list has been deemed to be flawed. The commissioner list itself. So he has to look at his database too. His information system might be flawed, and that's a serious concern. That's something serious we have to look at.
Do you think he should be retained as police commissioner if and when your government takes office?
We are not in a witch hunting exercise. We are not in any witch hunting exercise. Let me make that very clear. We are going to act professionally. The commissioner has assured us that he and his team would continue to act professionally. They would act professionally. We hold the commissioner to his commitment, but we are not in a witch hunting exercise about firing people and so on. That is not. We are moving forward in this country, in building a strong country, a country that is inclusive, that a country that is tolerant of different ideas and different views, and a country in which all Guyanese must be proud of.
The recount of votes cast in all regions showed that the PPP won the elections by 15,416 votes, and the Guyana Elections Commission is set to make a declaration soon. Mr. Jagdeo believes this will be done next week.
If you could read Article 177 2B of the Constitution, please look at that. And you will see that Irfaan Ali, it says that once it's established that one list has more numbers than the other list, the head of that list, the presidential candidate on the list that has the majority vote, is deemed the president of Guyana, is deemed, and that the chair of GCOM shall declare him as president. So Article 177 2B of our Constitution is quite clear. It has been established now that the PPP's list has the most votes, and therefore Irfaan Ali is already deemed the president of Guyana. It's awaiting that section of the Constitution which says that the chair of GCOM shall now declare him. So, as far as we're concerned, all of the shenanigans that are going on now to prevent that declaration, it's not going to work, because that's the supreme law of the country.
Is there a place for you and the Irfaan Ali government as an active politician?
That you'll see next week. If there is, there will be no surprise.
Meanwhile, the PPP also sought assurance about systems in place to safeguard state assets and to protect citizens if there is any violence after a declaration is made. Ali said many threats have been made on social media.
You would recall that in 2015, there were police officers stationed at every ministry and department whilst the transition was taking place. So we raised this with the commissioner. As you're aware, there's lots of news and photographs circulating on documents and assets being moved, and we have asked him to ensure that he look at this and ensure that systems are in place. And the commissioner has assured us that they're actively monitoring the situation, they're gathering intelligence, they're securing information to deal with any such threat if it arises. I want the best for our country, and I want to ensure that the security forces have everything in place to protect the people of our country, to protect the assets, to protect assets of individuals, and to protect the streets of our country. That is all.
The other issue raised during the meeting was the prevalence of racially hostile remarks on social media seeking to divide the nation. According to Ali, the police commissioner said a list of breaches has been compiled and sent for legal advice.
The police, they have compiled a list, and they have, and he said they're acting on that list. The list has been sent for legal advice. So I don't think I need to go over that. But if you go through social media now, the funny thing is that a lot of these persons who are doing this, trying to divide our people racially, are those living outside of Guyana and who have no interest in coming back here, but it seems bent on creating mischief. And I think it is time the force deal with these persons in a condign manner.
How do you balance that concern with freedom of expression?
Of course, we support freedom of expression, and this was raised with the commissioner, that we want, we don't want any Guyanese to be denied freedom of expression. It's a constitutional right, it's a fundamental right. But the freedom of expression does not mean spreading hate and making racist statements and trying to divide our people, creating mischief and division in our country. That is not freedom of expression. That is trying to destroy the fabric of our society and create havoc in our country.
The March 2nd, 2020 elections is the longest in Guyana's history, and more than 3 months later, GECOM is yet to declare a winner. United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Wednesday urged a quick and credible conclusion to the national vote recount process. This is Pompeo's third statement on Guyana's electoral process. On April 7th, he said the U.S. government looks forward to working with the Guyana Elections Commission and the international observer community on the recount of votes to ensure that the process is free, fair, transparent, and credible. And on March 9th, days after the elections, Pompeo had tweeted that he spoke with the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada about support for a democratic transition in Guyana. The 35-day recount of votes cast in all regions showed that the opposition People's Progressive Party won the elections. GECOM is expected to make a declaration soon. When we return, a dispute over mining land forces a family into the jungle after their home was met with gunfire. And the newsroom locates 6 persons in Unity, whom the APNU plus FC said were out of the country on Elections Day. Sunday, the final day of the national vote recount, APNU plus AFC elections agent Annette Ferguson objected to the serial numbers of 6 persons, claiming they were not in the country and could not have voted on March 2nd. However, every single one of them have disputed Ferguson's claim. We went to Unity at Mahaika on the east coast of Demerara to find them. This is Mahaika, east coast Demerara. It's a traditional farming community, and so on any typical day, many would be in their farms. On a visit to the area, I met Bisunde Dayanan. Morning, Auntie. How are you?
Morning, I'm okay.
We had heard that you were not in the country on March 2nd, so we wanted to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Were you in the country on March 2nd?
Yes, I was in the country.
Did you go to vote?
Yes, I went out early in the morning to vote with my husband and my daughter.
Where did you vote?
I vote at Gibson Primary School.
Okay. So when you heard this claim was made that you were out of the country, what did you think of that?
I get upset, and I think that is wrong because I'm alive and healthy and strong, and I went to vote.
What do you make of everything that's been happening with the elections?
Well, I'm hoping for the best.
What do you think about all the things that has been happening since March 2nd? Does it upset you? Or you
Yes, it upset me because things should be go the best way. And most of all, what upset me is that they say I was not wrong.
This is the observation report from Box 4853. The coalition's elections agent, Annette Ferguson, called out the serial numbers of 6 voters she said were out of Guyana on March 2nd. She was simply wrong, according to elections agent Jaichan Wahid. So, Steve, you've lived in this area all your life?
All my life, yeah.
So you know most people here?
Majority of the people I know.
Okay. And so you worked as one of the elections agents for one of the parties?
Yeah, Anog.
And so on Sunday, tell me what happened with these names from this village.
Well, I was in the counting station at the Archjung Center, and Miss Ferguson, the APNU agent, who claimed that these serial numbers were out of the jurisdiction.
She called 6?
She called 6 of the numbers. So I have my OLE sheet, and as she called the number, I just marked them off because I know the people them. So I said, I object to the allegation. I said, these persons were in the jurisdiction. I know of them. So she was like, you know too much. That's what she said.
But you told me earlier that you helped some of them to go and vote.
Yeah, we helped them out. I didn't work as a party agent today on election day, but I helped people go out and vote on election in this village. I was from since 6 o'clock till about 12 in the night. We stay in this village.
So when you cross-check those serial numbers with the names of the people in the village, you instantly realized they were all here.
Yeah, I realized because I know them from long, and from the time I look at the name, I said this is Uncle Papa, wife, that's the one who just went, and I knew them from the time I started looking at the names then.
So what was your feeling at that time?
I said I cannot stand up to this and say that these people are not in the jurisdiction when I know they was in the jurisdiction, you know?
Were there other claims made apart from this village while you worked during the recount?
There was a lot of claims made, and for this village, when I see 6 names claim that they was in the jurisdiction, that's to tell me how many more in the other villages I don't know about that was in the jurisdiction. So it's just allegation that's useless to this thing.
The most incredible of the claims is the one made against Hemnod Vivekanan. He doesn't even have a passport.
I never go nowhere. I never left this country, go anywhere.
Mr. Hemnod has been a pump operator in the nearby village for 13 years. Like most villagers, he voted at the Gibson Primary School on March 2nd, so he was amused by the claim that he was out of the country.
I had to laugh because I never had a passport. So I left the country to go to a country with a bicycle. You know? The general election, there is a winner. It shows that there is a winner. And the recount showed that there is a winner. So they should allow the winner to do what they got to do and let it do the work.
Moving on, we came to this house to find fisherman Yugendra Pandey. The coalition also claimed he was not in Guyana on March 2nd. He was not at home when we visited, but we spoke with his wife, Shakila Gopal. So, tell me a bit about your husband.
Well, he just be working at fish. He is working on fish boat, and he is not right now. He gone out at sea yesterday morning.
But you can tell us for sure that he was in Guyana on March 2nd.
Yes, definitely.
So, you had heard that people, well, it was claimed that your husband was not in the country to vote on March 2nd, yeah?
Yes, but he was in the country because he voted.
So when you heard that people said he wasn't in the country,
I was annoyed because I wasn't like it.
It has been more than 3 months since the elections, but there has been no declaration of the results. Mrs. Gopal would like to see it done and over with. Are you frustrated that it has taken so long?
Yes, a bit, because the country is slow up and things in doing. So it's right now till we get back what we're supposed to be doing.
As we continued in the village, we met 50-year-old Lilawati Prasad. When did last you travel?
No, I never travel. Me never get a visa. Why go travel here?
You don't have a passport?
Yes, I have a passport. I never travel out of the country.
So, when you hear people say that you're out of the country, what do you think about it?
I surprised because me never travel. Me never travel to go nowhere.
So, with all the elections thing going on, how you feel about it?
Well, I feel so, I'm going to tell you, I feel really bad about this because I never expect something like this to happen in the country.
The sixth person the coalition claimed was not in the country was Mr. Nandram Albert Ritchie. He too has said he voted on March 2nd, was definitely in Guyana. The claims made by the coalition of dead persons or persons out of the country being marked off as having voted on March 2nd has not been proven, and other parties believe it was all part of a ploy to deny the real winner of the elections their victory. For Mr. Hemnot, it is a stark reminder of the dark days of Guyanese history when elections were rigged.
I experienced. I was living in King Grove at that time. When I go vote, at 6 o'clock, they call everybody. You don't have to count the box right here. They come and collect the box and they didn't need back anything. All they do is they celebrate, they win. Who is in power?
This reminds you of that?
Yes, yes. I just tell my children, this time you are going to witness it. And up the other night they tell me that it's true, you've seen it yourself. So I tell you, now you are going on in those days. You don't want to come out of power, you know? Keep going all the time.
With the recount over, Mr. Hemnot hopes there will be a declaration of the winner, the PPP, very soon. Reporting for the newsroom, Neil Marks. A Region 8 family was forced to sleep in the forest with nothing to eat after gunmen reportedly hired by a large mining company discharged several bullets at their home at Tobago in Region 8 in an effort to force them off the land. Despite making several reports to the police, nothing was done, and the indigenous family is now fearful for their lives.
The family has been mining at the Tobago Back Dam on a plot of land for the past 2 years. They also live there and have in their possession a permit for the land. However, Judy John told the newsroom that following the death of her husband, 50-year-old Jonathan John, on March 30th, and the jailing of her son, 21-year-old Dintas John, for his murder, a large-scale miner has threatened to kill family members and take away their land.
They really want to send me out from there, but I always tell them this is not their claim, this is not their land. We already paid for this claim, so they don't like what I say. Like they just starting up and cursing me. They saying that they will kill me anytime, and so they will kill my sons. And so
the 49-year-old mother resides at Tobago with her 4 children, 1 daughter-in-law, and some other relatives. They also employ 7 workers for mining. On May 10th, the gunmen stormed the land and fired several bullets at the family. The woman's daughter-in-law, Marianne Canterbury, told the newsroom that she had just eaten breakfast when she heard a gunshot. She fled from the house with her 11-year-old brother-in-law and 13-year-old sister-in-law.
After we finished taking breakfast and so, I was in my hammock, and the first thing that I heard, it was a gunshot. It was like 50-something, it was rapid gunshots. After we went back to the scene, we saw 9mm pistol spent shell. We saw one 12 spent shell and 32 spent shell.
Upon their return, the family found that the men had broken into their home and carted off a GPS, radio sets, 15 pennyweight in coal and other items.
Because it happened early, like 9-something, so I spent whole day in the bush, and evening time now I started to walk to come back where I leave her, but I lost several times and so even with night I end up reaching close to the camp. I reached one of the line that we just walk to go fishing or so, and then I started to remember where I walked through, and then I find her.
The men have since set up their camps a short distance away and have been destroying items belonging to the family. Reports were made to the police, but there has been no action.
A report was made to Mabora Police Outpost, but they said that it was out of their jurisdiction, and they called to Madhya, and Madhya Police said that they will go in. That's all we keep hearing, but they said their vehicle is down and they cannot go now. And those kind of things.
Canterbury, Judy, and others traveled to Georgetown this week, where they made a report to the police at Ivlery and also to the Amerindian People's Association, where they are seeking assistance. Bibi Katoon, Newsroom.
Over 300 Guyanese stranded in Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago and on the Royal Caribbean cruise line are facing difficulties accessing COVID-19 tests, according to the Director General of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, Egbert Field. Isanella Patwa reports.
The National COVID-19 Task Force granted approval for the nationals to return home once they are tested negative for the disease in their host countries. The tests are required 48 hours before arrival in Guyana. Once all the requirements are met, a flight will be scheduled to bring them home. It is likely that either Caribbean Airlines or LIAT will be used to bring the nationals home stranded in Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. The Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority spoke with the newsroom on Wednesday.
Approval has been granted to bring the passengers, bring the individuals in. We are working on Trinidad and awaiting foreign affairs to tabulate the list and to deal with the logistics. But approval has been granted. We are also working on Barbados. Approval has been granted for them. And approval has also been granted for the 186 cruise ship workers who are on the Royal Caribbean cruise ship off Barbados.
The Director General said that there are 186 Guyanese on the cruise ship off the coast in Barbados, 120 nationals in Trinidad, and over 100 in Barbados. Of that amount, he said only about half have done the COVID-19 tests.
I know the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working diligently with those stranded Guyanese to have them meet the requirements. I think some of them have done the PCR test, but doing the PCR test, access to doing the PCR test is not as easy as in the United States. So they are trying to work that out with the Trinidad authorities.
Okay.
Some of the individuals have done their tests, while some are about to do their tests.
All returning Guyanese are subject to a 7-day home quarantine upon return. During this period, they will not be permitted to leave their home except to seek emergency medical services. The task force has extended the nation's COVID-19 emergency measures to June 17, 2020. Guyana closed all ports of entry into the country on March 17 to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Isanella Patwa.
The incumbent APNU plus AFC government is embarking on arrangements to address the financial crisis faced by the Guyana Sugar Corporation GuySoco, according to the Ministry of the Presidency, but the details of those arrangements are not known. The PPP, which won the most votes in the last elections, has not ruled out a bailout for the sugar industry when it gets into office. Bibi Katoon reports.
GuySoco's chairman John Dow dispatched a letter to President David Granger on May 15th, in which it stated that the sugar industry will not survive into the second week of June without a bailout. On Wednesday, Director of the Ministry of the Presidency's Press and Publicity Unit, Ariana Gordon, told the media that a meeting was held between Minister of Finance Winston Jordan and Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder in the presence of Mr. Granger to address the issue. Gordon said the Minister of Finance has embarked on some arrangements to resolve the ongoing crisis facing the sector. However, when questioned further on what those arrangements are, she directed the questions to the ministers. Efforts to contact the ministers proved futile. Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Finance, Bonita Euburn, said a statement will be released, but up to news time, there was no statement from the Finance Minister. The recently concluded national vote recount showed that the People's Progressive Party won the March 2nd elections by over 15,000 votes. As such, the party's General Secretary Bar Jagde was approached on Wednesday with questions relating to the PPP's plan to address the issue.
Well, I don't know how this government, President Granger, where de facto government will deal with it. That is why we need the declaration very early so we can address these issues. It's a crucial...
Your thoughts on going forward?
You have to deal with it one way or another. And you think this is the only issue? There are several other issues. We have to look at whether Marriott has been able, because of COVID, to service its loan. We have to look at the reserve position. We have to look at the collapse in revenue, state revenue so far. There are tons of issues that have to be addressed that could right now, from all I'm hearing, we're practically bankrupt as a country. The revenue has collapsed, and we don't have the same level of exports that we had. So the export earnings are falling, and many of the institutions have gone into financial crisis. They run out of money simply.
Would you recommend a bailout at this time?
That will come next week when Irfaan is formally sworn in.
The Guyana Agricultural and General Workers Union, GAU, which represents sugar workers, in a statement on Tuesday noted that some 10,000 workers are employed by the country's 3 remaining sugar estates. According to Dow's letter to the president, there is also a backlog of $2.1 billion owing to creditors. He said Gaisuku has expended $9.6 billion from a bond secured by the government's asset holding arm NISIL. But Dow said Gaisuku understands that only $17 billion of the $30 billion bond has been raised thus far. Bibi Katoon, Newsroom.
Guyana did not record any new COVID-19 cases from the additional 22 persons who were tested on June 10th. Here is Dr. Artenisa Hamilton with Wednesday's update.
Of the 22 tests done, there have been no new cases. The number of confirmed cases remains at 156 and our COVID-19 deaths 12. To date, the total number of persons tested is 1,876, with the number of negative cases being 1,720. Currently, 92 persons have recovered. 52 active cases are in institutional isolation. 1 person is in the COVID ICU, and 6 persons are in institutional quarantine. Our spotlight remains on the region of the Americas. We continue to witness an increase in the number of new cases as well as in the number of deaths. My fellow Guyanese, you are cognizant of the contributory factors that lead to a flattening of the curve. Physical distancing, cough and sneeze etiquette, hand washing, and most importantly, staying at home. I encourage you to keep spreading this message in your communities so that we can arrest the spread of COVID-19 and begin to reshape our lives with some measure of normalcy.
Meanwhile, a primary school teacher has tested positive for COVID-19 in Santa Rosa in Moruca, Region 1. This brings the total number of confirmed cases in the region to 10. The patient is among the 2 new cases Guyana recorded on June 9th. Public Relations Office of the Minister of Public Health, Terence Esseboom, confirmed. The newsroom understands that the teacher is related to one of the positive cases in isolation in Moruca. She teaches at the Santa Rosa Primary School. As a result, residents are now even more concerned for their safety and that of their children, given the fact that students who are sitting the NGSA, CAPE and CSEC exams are expected to return to school on June 15. One resident who prefers to remain anonymous told the newsroom that a teacher who tested positive returned to school on Monday.
The concern right now, right, is with the school up, where the teachers were asked to go out, and they also have to go out from Friday, they have to go to school all day Friday to be packing up and cleaning and sanitizing, etc. And so the department and the HMs have been calling them out. They have to go. They said that this and they will have consequences. The bigger issue now is that yesterday we learned that one of the teachers would have tested positive.
Oh.
And the teacher would have been in contact with all the other teachers in one of the schools where she's teaching. She would have had to be in contact with all of them. And so now everybody's at risk at the school. And it's the same reason why the teachers were saying they don't want to go while there is this lockdown. And, we're kind of a hotspot because for a small village.
After the first set of positive cases in Maruca, the village council locked down the village for 2 weeks until June 16 and sanitized the roads, public spaces and buildings in the community in an effort to curb the spread of the disease. However, village Tusha Juanito Phillips told the newsroom that the lockdown has not been going very well.
To be honest, it hasn't been going well because people are not adhering and they still continue to go about their business. And boats still continue to go out. They're not listening to the rules of the village. So I wouldn't exactly call it a lockdown.
Regional Health Officer Dr. Stephen Chifoon had stated that everyone who enters the region at the airstrips and stellings will be screened. Region 1 has recorded 1 death from COVID-19. There are 7 persons in institutional isolation in Region 1. When the newsroom returns, the financial weather and bridge reports along with sport.